I'm going to talk about the design of the game Pokemon Yellow. Pokemon Yellow was released in 1998 after Red and Blue. The Pokemon franchise started off with the games Red and Green. Later on they released an improved version called Blue. From Blue they created two new worldwide versions called Red and Blue. Pokemon Yellow is unique because it's based on the anime, where the main character has a Pikachu. First, the interaction model. The game has a bird's eye view so you can always see where you're going. You control an avatar which the game provides for you. You have three name choices which are Yellow, Ash and the option to name your character, which in a sense make you feel more like him. In the battle, the game becomes turn-based. I am now going to talk about single player. The game is mostly a single player because it's your own interactive adventure. You go around battling the non-PC characters who give money to you and catch Pokemon who will help you become a master. The game's multiplayer is more of a when you complete the game element. The reason is, in multiplayer you can battle someone else when you run out of opponents. Also you can trade with the previous games because it's the only way to get more Pokemon that are not available in this game. The narrative is a linear narrative, but you can take certain gym leaders in a different order because you might be stuck in a certain part. The story is you've left home to train Pokemon and you're going to travel around finding out more about Pokemon. Also you have a rival who is set up at the exact same time as you. At the end you become a champion and you are free to catch more Pokemon. The game story is subjective, so you can't do anything to affect the story. The game is set in the fictional world of Kanto, which has many different cities with different themes. For example, Butte City is a rock theme. The game is an adventure because you've left home to train Pokemon. In the game, you have to learn more in order to win, because certain Pokemon are weak against others. The challenge is to become the ultimate Pokemon trainer and beat your rival, who will take you on at regular times and get stronger. Another challenge is the gym leaders, who are tougher than most trainers and will have different types with different strengths and weaknesses. The biggest challenge in the game is to catch them all, because if you do, you get wait for it, a well done. The real reward is having all the Pokemon, because every Pokemon is unique. The goal is to stop Team Rocket, an organisation who wants to use Pokemon for evil, and you fight their boss. Another goal is to beat the Elite Four, who are masters and use rare types which you don't know much about until the end. Another goal is to make your Pikachu happy so he'll be more willing to fight for you. The reward is when you beat a gym leader you get a badge which allows you to control stronger level Pokemon and use special moves. The game has no choices in difficulty, but it gets harder as you progress, because the trainers get harder, so you need to level up your Pokemon. The game can be more difficult if you use a type of Pokemon that is weak against another. Also, if you level up a Pokemon too high, it will not listen to you until you get another badge. Pokemon that have been brought or traded may not listen to you until you spend more time with them. Your Pokemon will only have 4 move slots, so you must pick wisely. The difficulty can also be affected on how experienced you are. For instance, when I first played, I used a grass type against the Elite Four ice user, thinking that because grass was effective against water, it'd be effective against ice, which is similar. However, it was actually weak against that, and in fact fire was effective. Now I'm going to talk about the mechanics. It's a turn-based game. The game has an aerial view, so you look down at your character and control him. The Pokemon have a level up system, and when your Pokemon level up, their stats get better. Also, they may learn new moves. Another part of level up is that they can evolve and get more power. You can choose not to evolve them, because they can learn moves at lower levels, but they will not be as strong. Another part are the items. Some items are there to support you, but are not really necessary. For example, the bicycle just makes you travel faster and allows you to use the cycle lane. Items that are needed to complete the game are items like the Pokeflute, that wakes up a Pokemon that is blocking you. Other items are moves that you can teach your Pokemon yourself. They are TMs and HMs. TMs are certain items you find or buy. You can only use them once, and they can be removed, and only some have an effect outside battles. HMs are moves that affect outside the battle. They do not run out, but they cannot be changed once a Pokemon learns them. Another mechanic is Pokemon stats depend on what type it is. For example, Rock tends to be slow and have a low special but have a high defense and attack. There are also in-battle stats which are accuracy and evasion. Both are changed during battle. The game also has puzzle elements like using the side scope to see dead Pokemon. Some Pokemon can only evolve by certain events like a stone or a trade. The structure of the game is that it is a linear storyline but has non-linear elements. The reason is that you have to play the story from start to finish, but you don't have to do everything in order. Like if you don't know how to get past the Snorlax, you can go back and catch more Pokemon. Also, when you finish the game, you can explore more and focus on the multiplayer. The world of Kanto is made up of lots of cities which have a different layout and unique places like Beauty City's museum. Also there are forests, caves and oceans. Depending on the area affects what Pokemon show up. The houses, Pokemon centers and Pokemon marks all look the same to avoid confusion so you don't wander the town looking for them. Now I'm going to talk about the characters and non-PCs. The main characters are your avatar, your rival who competes with you. Also you have 3 choices to name him, which are Blue, Gary and the option to name him yourself, which again makes you feel more in the game because it could be a real world rival. Professor Oak tells you how well you're doing and starts you off on your adventure. There are gym leaders who are there as a challenge. There are members of Team Rockets who are there to ruin the world. There are the Elite Four who are part of the final test. The rest of the non-PCs are there to give you information. For example, a man shows you how to catch Pokemon, and some non-PCs are there to give you completely useless information. The feedback interfaces of the game are the Pokédex, Pikachu, Professor Oak and the save menu. The Pokédex will tell you how many Pokemon you have seen and how many you own. When you see a Pokemon, an image of it will appear in your Pokédex. However, if you own a Pokemon, the Pokédex will tell you about it. Pikachu is the first Pokemon you get. By pressing the A button, you will see what he thinks of you. First, he will look unhappy, but as you level him up and win matches, he will like you more and more. However, he will like you less if you lose with him. Professor Oak is the guy who starts you off in your adventure. As you speak to him, he will check your progress and tells you how well you're doing, and will give you advice on how to improve. A funny thing about Professor Oak is that he allows you to give your character and rival names by saying he can't remember them. The rival, however, is supposed to be his grandson, so he must have a very bad memory in order to forget a close relative's name. When you save the game, it will say how many badges and Pokemon you own. Also, it will tell you how much time you spent on the game, which relates to your addictiveness. Feedback interfaces are there to tell you how well you're doing. The perspective of the game is a 2D aerial view, but in battle, and when you're catching Pokemon, it will become a 2D third-person view. The only full motion video the game has is at the introduction. Okay, that was the end of my